Hello and thank you for joining me for part 2 of our playthrough of Nethalas, the second attempt. The adventures of Jedd the Brawler. And I'm very excited today because you might see something new on the table here. We have some cards. These arrived today from Drive-Thru RPG. I have the cards for the Mastery and Mastery abilities, and I also have the Combat Encounters cards, the creature cards. So I'm really excited to be playing with those, and it's going to be really nice to just draw a creature card and get a random creature when we engage in our next combat. And I'm also really excited to have received some great comments and advice from Alex T, the creator of Black Oath Entertainment and of Nethalas. He pointed out some really helpful things with the rules and how I've been playing, and that's going to help us a lot going forward. And I'm going to try my best to remember everything that he pointed out and implement those things. For example, I haven't been doing a scavenging check. I've just been getting free loot in every room, just immediately going for the D20 loot roll on the scavenging table. But the characters do in fact have a scavenging skill, so you need to roll D100 and check your skill before you actually find something. So I'm going to be doing that from now on. Another thing is, just in this playthrough so far, we have received some valuable loot. We had a roll on the valuable items table, and we got this potion here. And I kind of skipped some steps there. I went straight ahead to identifying the potion on the potion table. But in fact, as Alex pointed out, what you should do when you discover a potion is you should perform a medicine check, and that's going to then tell you if you're able to identify that potion on the table, because if you do not pass that check, you will not be able to identify it, and it will stay unknown unless you decide to simply drink it, and then you're going to have to roll and see what the effects are. So what we're going to do right now actually is we're just going to change this to an unknown potion. So that is unknown there. And then we're going to do a medicine check. So we're going to roll D100 to check our medicine skill, which is at 10. So this is going to be a low chance here. Okay, 48, so we did not pass. So that's going to stay unknown, but we do have the option of just drinking it, maybe in our next combat. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. It's a little bit risky, but definitely going to hold on to this, and we'll see what kind of fun we can get into there. Okay, so let's get started for today. We arrived in the third room here, which is a dead end, so we'll be backtracking back to the corpse pile room. But first, we need to enter this room and discover what secrets it holds. So we're going to check the door here and see if the door is locked. So that's going to be a D20 roll. And we have rolled a 1. So that room is definitely not locked. So we're now inside the room there. And we're going to need to do our tension and lair check. And another thing that Alex pointed out to me is that you do not start on D10. D10 actually has these ellipses here on the tension die. What that is there are some skills, maybe some mastery abilities or other things that allow you to actually go to a higher level of safety. But all characters in a normal situation are starting at D8, so we should actually be at D6 right now because we did have one roll that was a 1, I believe, and brought us down, so we're actually going to be at D6. So that's something that I've been getting wrong since the beginning, so I'm happy that Alex pointed that out. Thank you. Let's go ahead and do our D6 roll here. So a 3, we're going to stay there, and then we're going to roll D12 for the lair check, and that's going to be a 4. so we'll stay there. And another thing that I forgot to do was mark our light sources. So we've used 2 light sources to get into this third room here. So I'm gonna have to remember to keep checking that. Okay, now let's discover what we have in the room here. I'm excited. This might be our first chance to use the creature cards. So we're gonna do a d20 roll here to determine if we have a combat encounter, and we got a 4, so we're not going to have a creature this time. Cards will have to wait. But now we're going to do an event check and see what event we get. So we have rolled a 4. So there is a trap in this room. We need to roll on the traps table and follow the usual procedures. So let's roll on the traps table. That's going to be a d10 roll. And we have rolled a 10. It says that a rush of water fills the room, threatening to drag the characters and slam them against the walls, dealing 3d4 bludgeoning damage. So the only thing that we can do for this trap to avoid it is an athletics check. And with an athletics of 40, I think we have a bit of a chance here to dodge this. 74 though, it's not going to cut it. So we're going to take 3d4 bludgeoning damage as this water slams us into the walls. Let's see if I have 3d4s. I think I do. Okay, we've got 3d4s here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to take 4 bludgeoning damage. So we'll be at 12 toughness. Alright, so a little bit of trouble there with the trap, and unfortunately didn't succeed in that check. But all in all, just a little bit of damage there. And now we can scavenge in this room, and I'm going to check the scavenge skill to see if we get to scavenge. And that is a 79, so we do not get to scavenge in this room. So now we're going to walk back to the starting room, to the corpse pile room. And that's going to use a light source coming back into this room. And we also need to do a tension and lair check. So let's do D6 for tension. And that's a 3, and we need to do d12 for our lair check, and that is a 2, so we are now going to be dropping down to d10 for our lair. And so we have already cleared this room, so we do not need to unlock the door or have an event, but we do need to use up another light source as we move back into the first room. So we're going to mark that off. And also do our tension and lair again. 2. So we have now dropped to D4. And I believe that means that we now need to roll on the tension on the growing darkness table. Okay, so I consulted the book, and at D4 you still need to roll a 1 or a 2 before you will roll on the growing darkness table, so we're not quite there yet. And now we're going to check for the lair, and we got a 10, so we'll stay at D10. And now we need to decide where we want to go from this room. I think I would like to go down, so we're going to go through this door here, and let's check now to see if that door is locked. It's going to be a d20 roll. We've rolled a 19, so this door is locked. And we also need to roll a trap. Okay, so we need to see if this door is trapped. We're going to roll d10. And we have rolled a 10. So on 7+, the door is trapped. So this door is trapped. So we now need to perform a perception check. And if we fail this, the trap is going to trigger. 62, and our perception is 40, so we have failed, so the trap has triggered. So we're going to consult the traps table and roll d10. We have rolled a 1. Arrows shoot from a hidden spot, dealing 2d10 piercing damage to the character who triggered it. But if we can perform a successful dodge, we can avoid this trap. So let's see if we can dodge this one. 88, we did not dodge it. So we're going to have a 2d10 piercing damage here. And that is an 8. Ouch, that one hurt. So we will now go down to 4 toughness. And wow, these traps are really hurting us. Okay, so we triggered the trap and took some pretty heavy damage, but I believe that now the door is open. I'm not sure. It was a locked door, but we triggered the trap, so I think that we can now proceed through the door. Not entirely sure on that, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the door. So we're going to roll to see what kind of room we have here. Let's see what our next room is going to be. 21. That is going to give us a corridor, something that I have not rolled before. Now I'm going to turn this corridor around, and it's going to go something. Okay, so there we have our corridor, and these two sides are not locked, they are open. There's no doors there. So for the corridor, I believe the encounter check is a little bit different. We need to get 15 plus for it to be an encounter, so we got 13, so there's not going to be an encounter here. Okay, so we are in the corridor here, and we need to use 1 light source for doing that, and also the tension die and domain die. So we're going to roll d4 on the tension die, and that's a 3, and then d10 on the layer die, that's an 8. And because we do not have a combat encounter and we are in a corridor, I believe that there is not an event here. We simply need to move on to the next room. I'm not totally sure about that, but I think that's how it goes. So let's see what our next room is going to be. We rolled a 2, and that's going to give us another corridor. And you know what? I think I will re-roll that one. We rolled a 74. Okay, 74. We had that room once before. Okay, so there's room 74, and we still have another corridor that we can go off of there. So let's see what is in room 74, but we do have a door there, so we're going to need to check the door. So let's determine if this door is locked. 8. So the door is not locked, and we need to determine if there is a trap. So we'll roll d10 for the trap, and we got a 4. The door is not trapped, so we can go through this door, and we're going to use up 1 light source, and we're going to roll the tension and layer die. So a d4 again on the tension die, and we rolled a 4, and d10 for the layer, we rolled a 9. So those two will stay the same. And now we will roll in this room to see if we have an encounter. Whoa, that flew right out of there. Let's try that again. A 12. So I believe a 12 is, yep, a 12 is going to give us an encounter. So let's draw a card. And we have the Flayed Knight. So the Flayed Knight is an undead. It's a humanoid and it has 40 awareness. And it has 8 health. That's a lot of health. 40 combat skill, 30 magic resistance, and it has 1 armor on all body parts. So we're going to engage in combat with the Flayed Knight. Let's do our perception checks here. Going to determine who's going to go first. So a 47 and a 67. So that's going to be a fail for the Flayed Knight, and that's going to be a fail for us as well. But we both have a base skill of 40. However, with the quickness of the dagger, that gives us plus 10, so our base skill would be 50. So in this case, I will say because our base skill is 50 and higher than the Flayed Knight, we will succeed in this check. Okay, now we're going to roll for combat. We need to beat the Flayed Knight's 40 combat skill. The Flayed Knight has rolled a 9 and we have rolled an 83, which, even though is very high, is still going to be within our skill because we are 80 plus 10 with the attacker advantage, so we are at 90 unarmed combat. So we have succeeded in this attack, but I've also realized that I could have had the option of using our Stormbrand infused weapon ability, which would give us plus D4 air damage. Now that does take 1 standard action, so we would need to choose if we want to do that or if we want to attack. In this case, I already went with the attack roll, so I'm going to go ahead and complete the attack, but maybe in the next turn we will activate our infused weapon ability, which is certainly very useful. So let's roll for damage. We're going to be rolling D6 plus D4 here. And that is a 33, which I believe is going to give us a critical hit. Oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself here. That's just going to be 3 plus 3, that's going to give us 6. And we convert that on the damage table. That's going to bring us to 2 damage. And the Flayed Knight has 1 armor, so they will be mitigating 1 point of damage there. They have that on all body parts, but we need to determine which part of the body we're going to be hitting them. And they are humanoid, so roll d20 on the humanoid chart. 2. We hit them on the right leg. So the Flayed Knight is now down to 7. And now it is the Flayed Knight's turn to attack. We're going to roll to see what attack they will do. They have rolled a 6. So let's see what attack this is. This is going to be the Vengeful Cleave. This is a physical attack. The Flayed Knight swings its blade in a wide arc, attempting to cleave through multiple targets within its reach. It makes a melee attack against 2 creatures, dealing d6 slashing damage to each target. If either attack hits and reduces the target to 0 health, the Flayed Knight regains health equal to half the damage dealt. Nice opportunity there for the Flayed Knight to heal itself. In this case, I don't think we're going to be going to 0 health, but we'll see what happens. So we now need to do our combat check. We have rolled 55 and the Flayed Knight has rolled 85. The Flayed Knight has a combat skill of 40, so they have failed in their check. And we are 80 plus 10 to defense, 90, so we have succeeded in our check. And we'll now roll on the defensive moves table. That's going to be D10. 3. Your opponent receives the Bleeding 1 condition. So the Flayed Knight is now bleeding, but they are undead. So I believe that they might be immune to that. Okay, they are not immune. So in the case of a bleeding character, they receive an amount of damage determined by the effect's intensity until the condition is removed. So in this case, it's a bleeding 1. Okay, so if I'm understanding bleeding correctly, it looks like bleeding 1 is going to act as a 1 die roll. On the damage dealt table, a 1 is going to be 0 damage dealt. So bleeding 1 is not very serious, but if they get to bleeding 2, things could get more serious for them and they could start to take some damage at that point. Alright, so we have successfully defended the attack on us there, and I believe now we're going to activate our infused weapon ability, which is going to give us plus d4 air damage. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this sideways to show that it is activated, and our Aether will be using 4 of our Aether is now going to be held in reserve. Okay guys, I believe that armor can still absorb damage here, so we will be doing 2 points of damage to the Flayed Knight, and that's going to put them down to 5. Okay, let's roll to see what the Flayed Knight will get. That's going to be a 4. And the Flayed Knight is going to do the Haunting Grasp, which is also magical. The Flayed Knight extends its ghostly hand toward a target, attempting to drain their life force. It deals d6 necrotic damage on a hit and regains health equal to half of the damage dealt. Ouch, we don't want them to be regaining health for sure. But this is a magical attack, so we cannot use our formidable unarmed skill here. So we're going to see if we can magic resistance check. 64, no, we're not going to pass that. So he's going to be doing d6 necrotic damage. Okay, he rolled a 1, and on the damage dealt table that is going to be 0. So we are very, very fortunate there not to be taking damage and not to be letting them heal. Alright, back to our turn. We gotta get rid of this knight. This guy is bad news and is hanging around too much. So 93. I think we're actually gonna be failing our attack here with a 93. The Flayed Knight has also failed their defense with a 75. Okay, so both of us have failed, and so we're gonna look at the base skill, and in this case our base skill is going to be 90, and the base skill of the Flayed Knight is going to be 40. So we're going to say that with the higher base skill our attack still succeeds here, and that's a little bit just to kind of move things along. So we're going to roll for our weapon damage. Again, it's going to be d6 plus d4 for the fist weapon and plus d4 for the Stormbrand infused weapon ability. And we got 2, 3, and 1. So that's going to be 6 on the damage table, which is going to be 2 damage. And that will bring the Flayed Knight down to 3. Oh, and actually I forgot to look at where we are landing our hit. So let's see that first. I'm going to roll d20 to see where we're hitting. So we're hitting on the right leg again. Okay. Alright, this guy is pretty beefy. He's still hanging around. We're surviving okay, but we don't have much toughness left. Let's roll for the knight to see what attack he's going to be doing. 1, he's going to be doing the Spectral Strike, which again is a magical attack. We need to pass a magic check. And we have passed. We have rolled a 19. First successful magic defense. Very nice. Okay, that's going to move on to our turn. I don't know if you can roll on the defensive move table after a magic attack. That is something I need to check. Alright, after consulting the rules, the way I interpret it is that the defensive move table only applies to physical combat and not to magical combat. So we will not be making a roll on that table, but still very happy to have actually passed a magic resistance check. Let's launch another attack on this Flayed Knight here. 58 Flayed Knight with 39. And the Flayed Knight has actually performed a successful defense. But in this case, our roll is higher. So let's queue up our weapon roll here. Get our d6 and our 2d4s. And that's going to be 4 plus 2 plus 3. So 9. And that's going to be 3 on the table. But the knight has 1 armor. And let's see on the hit location where we're going to hit. 19, that is on the head. Nice, so we've hit him on the head. We're going to be doing critical hits. So with the critical hit, I believe we need to re-roll our attack here, because it's going to be, everything is going to be doubled. And I do not have 4d4. So we got 1, 2, 3, have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so anything higher than 10, anything 10 or higher is automatically 4 damage, so I'm not going to roll the last d4 there. And we're going to be dealing 3 damage after armor. So a Flayed Knight is bye-bye. That guy is pretty beefy. It takes a lot to bring him down. And it's pretty interesting combat there, because we can see that when we're on the physical side of things, Jedd here is quite formidable and really almost impossible to overcome his incredible unarmed skill, although he did fail 1 roll. But if you go by the faster resolve method that I'm using, which is comparing the raw skill in the event of a tie, you know, things do move along a little bit quicker, but you do kind of like win some rolls that don't really seem like a win. For the Flayed Knight, when he's got magical attacks, especially this Haunting Grasp, that can certainly still do a lot of damage to us, and with only 20 resistance, I mean, that's even lower than their combat resistance, and their magical resistance is higher as well. So on the magic side of things, we are still pretty weak and pretty vulnerable, especially with something like Haunting Grasp where they can self-heal. So a very interesting dynamic there between the physical and the magical attacks. We can be so strong in one area but quite weak in another. Great, so the Flayed Knight is gone. We'll set him off to the side there. And we've completed the combat, so we can heal a d4 roll of toughness. So that's 1 there. That's going to bring us up to 4. And we would need to do a integrity check on our armor, but I believe that we were not hit physically. I do not think we were hit physically during that encounter, but we were hit with magical attacks. So I'm not sure on that if the armor needs to be checked. So I'm going to put that one aside for now. I'll have to check that before the next video. And now we can check for spoils. We can roll on the spoils table because of defeating the knight. So let's hope we get something good here. A 2, that's going to be the mundane items table. We'll roll D100 there. 34, that's going to give us a belt lamp, and that's pretty nice actually. Now we do not have a belt, so I'm not sure if that can go, if the belt lamp needs to have a belt first. It probably does. So for now we'll put the belt lamp into our gear here, and we'll hope that we can get a belt and use that, because the belt lamp is going to allow you to get your torch out of your offhand, which is very nice when you want to dual wield as we do, because if you do not hold your torch, you're not going to be able to see anything. So we're one step closer to being able to successfully dual wield with Jedd here. Well, that was quite a long and epic battle encounter there. And let's see what else we can do in this room here. Now that we are finished, we can do a scavenging check. 22, that's not going to be high enough to scavenge. and we've completed everything that we can do in this room, and we will complete today's episode here. Thank you all very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.